Joining me now to react, one of the lawmakers sponsoring this bipartisan legislation, Republican Congressman from New York, a member of the House Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committees, Mike Lawler. Congressman, it's great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So it seems that the issue extends to all ages of Americans, this concern about AI training and jobs. Gen Z is struggling with finding entry-level jobs. Older Americans are facing increased underemployment. So how does your legislation help those workers in particular?
Well, if you look back, obviously, when the age of the internet started and we saw the internet boom, obviously that impacted a lot of people in the workforce. And we know that. And so as we see the advent of AI, we want to be way ahead of the curve. We want to be more prepared. And the objective really is to make sure that Americans are not being displaced by AI, but able to work with AI and actually help incentivize businesses to make sure that their employees are trained. And so, as you see in the last 2 years in particular, AI has exploded and it's accessible to everyday Americans for everyday use. But obviously, it's going to be integrated more and more into the workforce. And so we want people to have the training and the capabilities. And this is really geared towards supporting businesses of all sizes, but especially smaller and medium-sized businesses that may not have the resources to invest heavily in training and education for their workforce. This tax incentive, this tax credit will help them be able to actually supplement and support that. And I think that will ultimately help advance the workforce across the board.
Especially for those workers that are struggling. I want to switch gears with you, Congressman. You serve on House Foreign Affairs. Axios is reporting that the Pentagon is threatening Anthropic with a supply chain risk designation after contentious negotiations and how the military is using its Claude AI tool, and if those tools are used to spy on Americans. That designation would mean anybody that does business with the U.S. military would have to cut ties with Anthropic. I want to get your reaction to this new report in Axios.
Well, obviously, just saw this and want to dig into it further. But certainly, this is one of the concerns with AI and how it can be used for nefarious purposes. And that's part of the reason why Congress should be looking at safeguards, should be looking at ways to not only protect Americans and their privacy, but also with respect to foreign bad actors, and why it is so imperative that we be ahead of the curve here, both in terms of the regulatory framework, but also with respect to ensuring that Americans understand full well the impacts of AI and how to use it, and how to protect privacy and in particular data.
Okay.
So there's a lot going on here as AI really comes to the forefront. And this has been one of my biggest concerns sitting on both financial services and foreign affairs, how AI can be used by nefarious actors to impact our financial markets, impact our national security, and impact the privacy and data rights of everyday Americans.
No, it's a very important issue, Congressman. We're definitely following it here, as you know, here on Fox Business. The president's been on Truth Social in the last hour. He's been pretty busy, but one of the things he posted has to do with New York and New Jersey. And I want to ask you about this. He's posting about the Gateway project. And just real quick, he said Gateway is going to be financially catastrophic for the region unless hard work and proper planning is done to avoid insurmountable cost overruns. He's mentioning, obviously, the cost of it. He says the federal government will not be responsible for any cost overruns, not by $1. And he says we're willing to meet, however, to make sure it doesn't happen. I want you to address that because this project is crucial to the state of New York in general.
Look, this is a project that I support. It has a direct impact on my district. I represent Rockland, Westchester, Putnam, and Dutchess counties. West of Hudson, Rockland and Orange County do not have a one-seat ride into New York City. This Gateway Tunnel will provide for that one-seat ride, which will certainly help economically long-term. It's also vital between New York and New Jersey. But the president is right insofar as it's a multi-billion-dollar project, $16, $18 billion that we're talking about. It is employing tens of thousands of people in the region. So it is a critical infrastructure project, but you want to make sure that there are not cost overruns. We've seen on MTA projects, for instance, significant cost overruns because of the mismanagement of people like Janno Lieber on the MTA system. So I understand what the president is talking about with cost overruns, but I do believe this project is vital. I believe it should proceed forward. It's something that the federal government should be working with our state partners to make sure, to the president's point, that we don't experience cost overruns. And if there are issues pertaining to that, then the states should certainly should have some skin in the game here.
Yeah, no, and certainly in the wake of the judge's ruling, this has been a big story. Sir, let's get back to Washington. I know you're on recess this week, but the House, you passed the SAVE Act before you left. Susan Collins of Maine boosting Republican voter ID efforts for this on the Senate side. Republicans don't have the votes to eliminate the filibuster at this point. So President Trump's floating the idea now of putting out this executive order on voter ID if the bill continues to stall. I mean, he's over here saying, get rid of the filibuster completely. There doesn't seem to be an appetite for that. I realize we're on the Senate side with the story now, but I wanted to get your take on, if you think this is going to help negotiation efforts, this new threat from the president of an EO. Do you think that the Senate is going to be able to figure something out? Because at this point, the negotiations have not really gotten us anywhere.
Yeah. Look, this is an issue that the American people support 80-20, 90-10, requiring citizenship for the right to vote and requiring photo ID. The only reason Democrats are opposed to it is because they think it's going to cost them elections in California and New York in particular. You had New York City Democrats try to allow illegal immigrants the right to vote in New York elections. We fought back against that with a lawsuit and won in the New York State Court of Appeals because it's very clear both in the state and federal constitution that you are required to be a citizen to vote. But Democrats have been pushing back against this for decades. They're against photo ID, except, of course, for everything else in our country that is required for photo ID. But magically, they don't support it for the right to vote. I think the challenge with the Senate, obviously, is the 60-vote threshold. I do think there is a reasonable reform to be made to the filibuster, which is that you should actually have to be on the floor and have a real filibuster as opposed to just the threat of a filibuster. There should be a debate. Let the American people hear directly the opposition from the Democrats on requiring citizens the right to vote and requiring photo ID to vote.
Yeah.
I think the vast majority of Americans support that, and the Democrats should have to explain publicly in broad daylight their opposition. So any reforms to the filibuster should really be to require an actual filibuster as opposed to just the threat of one.
Right, absolutely. And it is something that we have discussed many, many times. This, of course, is we're in day 3 of a partial government shutdown with Homeland Security. So when you return, lots of work ahead of you, Congressman. It's always great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.